Hey, welcome to the A.D.D Marketing Podcast. This is episode 1, and basically I wanted to start this podcast off by just explaining what it is that I'm going to be doing here. So this podcast is going to be all about how to, grow, market, build your business based off of knowledge shared by the many great authors behind me. And so today I wanted to start off simple, and one of the best books that I've read on building a message for, whether it's for marketing or, for teaching, parenting, etc. But in this case, we'll apply it for marketing, is Made to Stick by Chip and Dan Heath. I believe they are brothers. And this book, to simplify it, is essentially how to make your message sticky. And what that means is that when you broadcast your word, your message out to the world, how many people remember it? And the best way to do that is to increase its stickiness. The way that they describe it is through the Velcro method. So essentially, everyone's got, I believe was it hooks and loops, right? So everyone's got a bunch of loops around them, right? And they can only catch on to so many things at once. But the things with the more hooks on them are much easier to grab a hold of and remember. And so the objective of, spreading your idea is to increase the number of hooks. Now, it doesn't necessarily need to be the hook in the context of marketing, which is, having something that really grabs someone's attention, but it's, more for the metaphor. And so basically they break it down into, I think it's six success principles. And they do that intentionally. It's a nice little acronym minus the last S. It's SUCCES principles. And so to just go over them real quickly, the very first one is simplicity. So how simple is your message? Could you explain it to, your friends and family? Could you explain it to a college person as well as a high school student, right? So you want to be able to explain it in a way that is easily understood. So the next one is we have unexpectedness, right? And unexpected would be, you're trying to tell someone a story, you're leading them down a path, and then suddenly it's right hook, right, left hook, like you don't know where they're going, and so that just captivates people, right? So simple makes it easy to spread verbally. If I can explain it to you, then hopefully you can explain it to someone else. The unexpected makes me remember it, right? Because I had a feeling when I was of a startledness, right? The next one is concreteness, and with concreteness comes physical connection. So one of the best examples I remember, I don't remember if it was in this book or if I remember hearing it after this book, but it's about describing a pomelo. So a pomelo is a citrus fruit that has, pulp, a pinkish pulp with a thick rind that's, what's it, airy, I forgot the word for that, and you don't eat the rind, right? So that's a bit much to describe what I could easily say it's like a grapefruit. And it really is. It's very, very similar to a grapefruit, and immediately something pops into your head. So that's what you want to be able to do, is have something that's easily relatable. It could be, like when people go, oh, it's hot as hell, right? Like that's a very simple one. But the point is that we immediately understand, oh, you mean very, very, very hot, right? Without having to say that 16 times. And so concreteness is a very powerful one. And the next one is credibility. So how do you get people to believe your ideas? So it's not so much about whether or not, they remember the idea, whether or not it's easy to explain it to someone else, whether or not it's concrete in their head so they can picture what your idea is. You also want them to believe that what you're saying is true. And in order to do so, you need to form credibility. And that can be done in, several different ways. And, a simple one is just like your title, right? So if you're CEO of a tech organization, then you have credibility in the tech field, right? But that's why a lot of people get upset when you hear like, oh, we don't want this person talking about blank or this one talking about blank, because that's not their field, right? So you want to have credibility in your field in particular. The next one is emotional, and kind of like the unexpected, except that you want them to have a sustained feeling. So it's not so much the just the startledness of like, oh wow, I wasn't expecting that. You also want them to feel something about whatever it is. So a lot of entrepreneurs, when they're trying to build a business, they're trying to explain how their goal is to, help mankind. And it's like, that's nice, but like, you need to actually express it in a way that I can feel what you feel. Right? So that's why the very last one, which is stories, is a very important role, because sometimes it's hard to express emotion without putting people through the things that you've felt. So, a better route to explaining the emotional appeal to whatever it is you're trying to share is to share an example of something that's happened in your life. So while you're talking about whatever it is you're trying to share, whether again it's your product or service, or it's a lesson in school, or it's a lesson to your children, the objective is to get them to remember it, believe it, and be able to share it with others. And so a story is one of the best ways to do so. Outside of this book, there are several other books that tout the power of stories. And it's not just because a story is easy to remember for no reason. Our brains are physiologically designed to remember stories. We had to, before there was the written word, we had to share stories over campfires, for example. And that's how we would teach lessons like, hey, when you see grass bent in this direction, it's likely a predator in this area. So that's how ingrained it is into our mind to remember stories. So if you can tell a good story with unexpected twist, with concrete examples that are very simple to understand, you can express emotion and show your credibility, then that's how you can get an idea to really stick. Thank you for stopping by my podcast. If you want to check out this book, I'll put a link in the description below, Made to Stick by Chip and Dan Heath. I hope you enjoyed, and have a good one. I hope you enjoyed my latest podcast episode brought to you by Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all, it's free. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's anchor.fm, and thanks for stopping by.